You're right about that.
Has been a bizarre few days for the president. Yesterday, he was in Colorado raising money and socializing, drinking beer, playing pool. In a calm time, there'd be nothing wrong with that. But this is far from a calm time. War could break out in the Middle East at any moment. And we now have about 60,000 foreign children under U.S. care because the southern border is so chaotic. Many are calling that a humanitarian disaster, and it is. So let's see. Possible war in the Middle East, a humanitarian disaster on the border, and Barack Obama is socializing? Not good.
Well, that in reaction to the pool shooting in Denver the other day as the growing fallout from President Obama's decision not to visit the border in Texas. Critics hitting the president hard, including Democrats, one who calls the actions this week bizarre. Our Congressman's Henry Cuellar. He's that Democratic congressman with me now live back in Capitol Hill. How are you, sir? And welcome back here to America's
I'm doing
Newsroom.
fine. Thank you, and good morning to you.
No solution so far. You called the president's actions bizarre. You say they're one step behind. Anything changed?
But no, I'm certainly asking the president to go down to the border. If he doesn't want to do it, apparently he's not going to do it on this visit. But hopefully sometime in the near future, he can go down there so he can talk to the young kids. The Emilia from Honduras, a 9-year-old that I got to talk to, they're scared, hungry. Or the Miguel from El Salvador, age 14, that I got to talk to because I've been there to the detention centers, the Border Patrol stations twice. And certainly I think we got to understand this humanitarian crisis that we're seeing down there at the border.
Is it acceptable for him to spend 2 days in your home state and not go there?
Well, again, my personal preference is for him to go down to the border. Apparently, he has already made the decision not to go down to the border.
Why is that? What explains that decision?
Well, again, it's, he's the president, he can go down to the border. I think today he's in Austin, Texas. I'm very familiar. It's 242 miles from the border. But again, it's up to the president to go down there. I'm hoping that if he doesn't make it this time, that sometime in the future he can go in. We don't need to have photos, I emphasize, because twice that I've been at the Border Patrol station down in the valley and at the Air Force Base, HSS in San Antonio, Lackland, they don't allow cameras, so we don't have to worry about cameras there. All I want is for somebody to put a face to the Emilias, the 9-year-old from Honduras, or the Miguels from 14-year-old from El Salvador. Just understand what's happening down there at the border. And by the way, let's give the men and women in green that have been working overtime Border Patrol a pat for the great work that they're doing. What about the poor counties on the border where the churches and the nonprofits, very poor communities that out of their generosity have been pulling their dollars to help the humanitarian crisis?
You're speaking exactly like your governor, Rick Perry. That's the same message he had. And he said, quote, a president needs to be there to show the American people, number one, that he understands. Now, Governor Perry is also calling for National Guard troops to go down there. But those crossing right now, they gain access to our country anyway, right? El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, they're protected by the law. So even if you put the National Guard there, you can't turn them away.
And again, I welcome the National Guard, but keep in mind what they do. They provide support services. They're not at the border securing the border. But again, if you look at what's happening down there, for example, in Mission, Texas, around that area, about 3 weeks ago, 280 individuals, women and children, just turned themselves as one group and said, here we are, we're here. And give us this notice to appear, where it's, some of them are not going to show up for at least for 2 years before there's a hearing, and then the immigration process is such a long term. It's going to take a long time. And plus, one more thing: do you know that every day in Laredo they're releasing about 250 individuals at bus stations? And if you include the valley, that's another 250, 500 individuals every day. They send them over to a bus station, they buy a bus ticket, they go to Alexandria, Virginia, they go to New Jersey, New York. They're going to different parts waiting for a hearing that might take years before they have that hearing.
If it even happens. But back to Governor Perry's point, you send the National Guard, and that sends a strong message back to these Central American countries. Do you agree with that?
Well, again, I welcome the National Guard as long as we understand it's a support service. We have to send a message because the number of people coming in has not stopped. May, June of this year, 48,000 just at the border. 48,000 individuals detained by the border, 9,700, almost the exact amount both months. And this is after the president said he had put all the decks on hand and he was going to coordinate down there. Where are the immigration judges that he said he was going to send down there, that FEMA was going to send down there? Why are we not seeing the stem flow, the wave of humanity that we're seeing at this time?
All good questions. All good questions. Yeah. And one more question for you. Is the White House taking your calls?
Again, I'm ready to work with anybody. I'm working with the communities down there. I'm ready to work with the president. We're going to review his proposal. But, even the proposal has to be changed. Why is there $200,000 to pay a media specialist to handle media calls that speak Spanish? I'm sure that the State Department has somebody that can speak Spanish. We shouldn't be wasting money. So we're going to review his proposal. I want to support the president, but we're going to review his proposal very carefully as a member of the Appropriations.
Henry Cuellar, thank you again for coming back today. Your voice is very important on this. Thank you, sir. You raise a number of very interesting questions as to why we don't have answers. Everybody's wondering that. Thank you, sir, for your time today.
Thank you and good morning.
He talks about the money that was, is being spent to deal with media relations on this issue. And then also within this $3.7 billion, you have hundreds of millions of dollars to launch campaigns in these countries to explain to people that they should not come, that the deal that they've been promised does not exist. What about picking up the phone from the White House and saying to each one of those presidents, you need to crack down on this now, not with our money, with your money. You need to crack down on this right now.
One for English and two for Spanish.
Unbelievable.
Get it on. Thank you, sir, again.